Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik, and I want to address Mr. Abbas, who was offered a deal by Mr. Kushner of $50 billion to make it a financial enterprise, what we call First Advantage, and a startup on the West Bank and Gaza. And instead of dealing with ideology and principles, Mr. Abbas, I think it's important for you to accept what Kushner has to say and accept the fact that the United States, along with Israel, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan will all participate in an economic, financial growth element for your people. Now, we know a lot about you, Mr. Abbas, so the reason I'm addressing you right now is I want you to have a little reality testing. You're 83 years old. We have monitored you since the day you financed the Munich massacre, where you allowed Arafat, your boss, to kill several of the innocent Israeli candidates. Now, we didn't do anything about it. We could have arrested you, but we allowed you to go on. Then we found out that with the Russians, you became a KGB agent. But more importantly, Mr. Abbas, the reason I'm saying this to you right now is that you are as crooked as Arafat, and you should understand that the people who are offering you that money are equally crooked to you. Now let's explain it. Number one, Mr. Abbas, we have a pretty good idea in the intelligence services that your net worth is about $100 million. You certainly didn't get that honestly, and we know very well that Yasser and Tariq, both your sons, act for you as a principal when it comes to construction works on the West Bank and Gaza. They get a percentage of it. When it comes to American cigarettes, they get a percentage of it. When they get all kinds of AID money, which is also our crooked institution, they get a percentage. So you're dealing with an equally crooked individual named Mr. Kushner, who works for another crooked individual, Mr. Trump, but they're both interested in making certain that you will create an effective Palestinian organization which will underwrite construction, roads, bridges, and everything else. Now, let me tell you why. The Israelis have an individual who's very crooked, Bibi, and he's going to be indicted. Jordan has a crooked king, Hussein. Sisi of Egypt is crooked. We can go on and on and on, but the one thing we will not tolerate, Mr. Abbas, is your self-righteous indignation to say this is the second Balfour. Nonsense. We won't tolerate the fact that you think that you're standing on principles and you've been manipulating all of our previous leaders because you want to be self-righteous. Once again, let me emphasize the point. We know you're incredibly crooked. We know you can be bought off. So my suggestion to you, as someone who's been involved in the Middle East peace process, is for you to take that money, distribute it to your people, and start building up with construction companies, including your sons, anything you want to do that will improve the welfare of your people. Let me repeat that again. The welfare of your people. It's time they understood that they had a better life and that you were in charge of it. Remember, there's 600 Palestinian warriors in Israeli prisons, and they're the ones who really had to pay the heavy cost for what you did and what Arafat did, your boss, who was worth probably in the billions of dollars. And before he died, you and he had a major fight. We know all this. So I want you to, again, to understand, in the world of business, it's not an issue here that you suddenly get self-righteous, that you think you're important, that you're standing on some form of ideology. You've been manipulating people too long, but more importantly, you've manipulated your people into poverty. The true state of Palestine is in Jordan. And there are about 50% of the population of Jordan starts with the 1948, the 56, and the 60 people who immigrated from Palestine into Jordan. So in a reality, it's time for you to act maturely and appropriately. Let me quote Teddy Roosevelt, who said, "A man without an education will steal a freight car. A man like you, Mr. Abbas, who had an extensive education, will steal the railroad." Thank you and good night.